So let me start it from.
Sorry.
Let me start it from what I left. Yeah, no.
Yeah, from the knitwear, it's part of the experience.
Yeah. So I think that my blessing was that, like I said before the creative component, I was very focused on the commercial aspect of what we were about to introduce in the market. I knew exactly who my target of clientele would be, and I knew what I wanted to communicate, and I knew what I pictured the brand to be, what role the brand would have on the selling floor. And wholesale helped me giving that position to the brand, because you would I would be able to materialize the brand on a selling floor with all the other luxury brand. So I started from that, to be honest with you, before, of course, the creative and the branding are what I enjoy the most and what I'm good at it. In a very humble way, I think that was my forte, and what I definitely enjoy the most. The creative process is what I enjoy the most, but I had to be focused on the commercial component of the brand. So I think that now I definitely have a little bit more of space, and I can afford to work and to be focused on creative more than on the commercial aspect. But we are still, the fact that we are an independent brand, that we are such of a small business. I say we, but it's pretty much a one-man show. Beside the support and help that my wife lovely give to me, the margin of error whenever you are starting something like Ghiaia, it's always pretty tiny. So you always gotta be focused on what you do and how you do, and making sure that it has to make sense from any perspective.
How do you calculate the amounts that you have to produce? That has always blown my mind. How do you choose the amount of supply and demand?
I think talking about culture and talking about where I come from, I think that Italy historically always had, Europe in general, there are other great European production places all over around Europe. There are great, incredible artisans, incredible artists. But I think that luxury goods and clothing, beauty in general, I think is absolutely cultural. It's something that, like I said before, we grew up surrounded by those elements. And so for me, what I knew, Carlos, was that in order to provide you, Americans, I think we are today only distributing the Americans market at the moment. I think Americans do care, beside, of course, the way you present it to them, a product, but they do care about the quality of the product. I, as a creative, as an entrepreneurial person, as the founder of this brand, I don't believe too much on talking about product. I don't believe on communicating to the client, oh, that's how we do our sweater. That's how we knit our product. That's how we produce our product. But what I believe Americans love and understand quality, and they love product that as a market, they love products that live a long time. And Italians, so my first focus was on, like, my first necessity was to make sure that my garments were produced by people that were absolutely masters at what they do. Like, people, every time I go to Italy and I visit our factories and our laboratories, and that I talk to our artisans, it's so inspiring to me. It blows my mind away, because what you can see people that dedicated their life to that, and it's something that sometimes, unfortunately, we give for granted as Italians, but it's an incredible resource. It's an incredible value, and it's a process that I enjoy a lot. It's a process that it's probably the process I love the most. And you really, it's incredible. I wish I could have shared that more. We will do in the future, but that's something that I would be extremely focused on communicating in the future. But back to the point, to your question, first of all, we don't produce yet lots of units. We don't produce yet. We are a small brand. Starting from this year, we are going to have more wholesale partner. We now have a larger list compared to when I started, which was only one. And now our direct consumer channel is growing as well. So now we produce also for our retail space. I hope very soon I will be able to open more brick and mortar stores. So yeah, I think that I wouldn't be able to do this without a very solid and without an incredible artisan's reality behind what we do.
And it's true what you're saying, that Americans, they want quality. They're getting away from the high brands. And it's interesting that you started with knitwear, because it's true. I remember like cashmere, for me, it's a paternal son thing, where
Correct.
my father, he gave me his cashmere sweaters like 5-6 years ago, like, so I could use them. So each time that I have them, it's like, I'm just borrowing it for my son, which is it's really, really beautiful. And the way that you said, I'm going to start with knitwear and cashmere, I think it says a lot about you, and that you really appreciate, or you have the family values, and that they're really important for the brand, right?
Thank you. No, you said something that I believe is the essence of quality goods. I don't like the word luxury goods, because I don't like to give a label to quality things. But what you just said is exactly what I was picturing. The paradox, Carlos, is that my father never really cared about clothing. For some reason, everything today is my passions and loves, and never been my father. He never cared about, this all, the watches, the cars, the clothing. It wasn't something that, he was a very pragmatic man, he was a hard worker, and he was a mechanic. So I think that he never pay attention to those things, and he always consider it, what I love, a little bit superficial, a little bit, this fluffy world. He never felt too close to it. But beside that, today I'm a father, and I definitely already look up to the future of my daughter. But I think that the most beautiful part of quality goods, of high quality goods, is that they do have a value that you can feel as soon as you hold them. And it's not only for clothing, like I said before, is you can apply that to anything. Anything made with purpose, anything made with heart, anything made with passion is a quality product. And naturally, quality products are great to be protect, to be taken care of, and to like you said before, to give to who will be next, so to your kids, to the generation coming. So that was the reason why I wanted to start making sweaters, and I wanted to start making something that was so hard to produce, so hard to realize, but that I knew would have carried those values longer.
Yeah, sure. Humans, we have a necessity to have our legacy, to carry down what we like.
Absolutely.
Whether it's jewelry, watches.
Correct.
The watch is an investment for your younger children. You know that a Cartier, a Rolex, they're gonna last what, 5-6 generations, which is huge. Maybe your father wasn't that into clothes, but he looked ways to bring his legacy in another type of way, you know, maybe not in clothes, maybe it was
well, I think that ethic and dedication and you know, like I think that's what my father's legacy was, and that's what I learned from him. And thank God, I would say, because if the bones are good, and if the bases are good, the values are good, I think we can. It doesn't mean that you need to have a father and that you need to have a family, but if you build if you stand for those values, most likely whatever you will do in life will be something that people will understand, that people will feel, and they will be more sensitive about what we do. And you know, I agree with you. I think that as human being, we do have the needs. We do have the needs to build something around us, either it's family or we do look at the future, and I think that is a beautiful thing. I try to not be too dramatic, Carlos, but you hit a good button. I think that you absolutely are right on what you said. And back to the point of, sorry if I interrupted, back to the point of us never being too focused on sharing to people how you do it and what you do it is not necessarily the most effective way to share what a brand, what a company, what a product stands for. You know, I think that you mentioned brands like Cartier, brands like Rolex, which are mostly, you know, these are aspirational brands. These are independent brands. So these are brands that no matter what the market, no matter what the trend was, no matter what they always delivered something that they believed was what they wanted to deliver. And the rest kind of came as a consequence. You know, when I think about those brands, I think about the people that have been wearing those brands, the people that were ambassador of a company like Rolex. And I think there are only few companies that have been able historically to communicate such strong message, like Nike, like Apple, like, you know, like without using any stereotype, without using any obvious reference. But history teaches us that we will always be more sensitive about strong message, about message that are a little bit deeper than, oh, our product is realized this way, and this is why our product is great. I find that not too impactful as a way to communicate.
Oh, and the design, having something that hasn't changed in more than 100 years, it's huge. It's a submariner, it's a tank Cartier, it's the sweater.
Absolutely.
It's really hard to have a design that passes the test of time, no?
Absolutely agree with you. And you know, like clothing compared to those components have a different life in the sense that, you know, you wash them, you use them, they might get the signs of time are a little bit more effective on a garment than on a watch or on a jewelry or on a car. But for sure, I think that our biggest goal, of course, is to grow. Of course, is to keep the business strong, and I'm already looking forward to, you know, have some employees and to provide jobs and to provide opportunity and to provide to other young profile their way to express themselves professionally and creatively. But our main goal is to keep our basics, like to keep our bones, and to show to people and to always communicate what we stand for. I
No,
think that is our main priority.
and being authentic, like I saw that like on your mannequins you put the sweater, the pants, and then you put like Vans shoes, which is really cool because you're being pragmatic. Like it's like the best of both worlds, like Vans, which are from Anaheim, California, really close to
Yeah,
Pasadena, and
yeah,
also the Italian heritage. So
yeah.
you're giving it like like a difference, no? You're giving like the Californian sprint to Italian, which
Yeah,
maybe it's like it's you, right? Because you're
yeah,
Italian, you're
correct.
living in California. You understand that you cannot maybe use loafers every day because it's
Correct,
hard.
correct. And I think that like I said before, the personal component was, you are so kind, and thank you for your kind words. I like it to don't take too much credit of it. I think that moving here was for me, you know, like it was an adjustment. I remember when I first moved here, coming from so many years working on you know, like with Brunello. I was always bullied by the cool guys around here, around my town, around my friends. You know, like I think what's happening today in California, and I mentioned the pandemic before, which was, of course, an horrible thing that happened to humanity. Cities like Los Angeles, where are today more absolutely more contemporary, the lifestyle, it's something that people relate more, because what happened after the pandemic is that we all started to understanding what's important, and we all starting understanding the value of time and the value of a healthier lifestyle, and the value of the right pace in life. And I think that the industry today is looking more and more at the lifestyle that you can have in a city like Los Angeles. So again, that's the part that I like. Don't take too many credit when it comes to the Californian influence in my creativity. That happened pretty naturally when I first moved here. I noticed that. And it has nothing to do with being appropriate with be formal rather than casual, but the style here, the Californian have more of their style. So I started to contaminate what it was my creativity and my vision with Californian components, you know, Californian elements, and I think that, yeah, for me was a very interesting time. You know, for me, it was a very interesting time to create something. Again, like I said before, moving and getting out of what it was my comfort zone, moving out here and changing again the scenario around me was a blessing for me. Was an absolute blessing, and that's why when I still love to travel, and I still love to visit new places, because every time I travel, I come back extremely inspired. You know, I work by myself most of the time, and that might be a limitation sometimes, because when you are working surrounded by other profiles, by other people, you know, you go to the office one day and you see other people around you wearing different things, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Let me try that tomorrow. I'm gonna wear what that guy is wearing today, or what my colleague is wearing today. When you work by yourself, you need to, you know, I watch numbers on movie. I always keep myself. I do lots of research. I go around. I love to be surrounded by different people, by creative people, by people that are not, they don't work in my industry. I love that, and that keep me always pretty inspired. Every time I travel, every time I go to other places, I always come back home with lots of ideas, with lots of new perspective. I think that is extremely important.
No, it's vital because it opens up either the way you express yourself, the way you change. I remember that before I went to, I used to live at Berkeley in California. Before I lived there, I had like the most uncomfortable shoes ever, like boots, like
very
loafers.
appropriate, very, yeah.
Like super, because in Mexico you don't walk that much. It's just like your house to your car and your car to your house, and that's it. So then
Yeah.
I had to walk a lot. It's a campus, it's a university, and that's what I asked. Like I had like an identity crisis in terms of clothing. Like nothing works, you know. Like,
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. And in a part, I have a little bit of that myself. I had to reinvent myself, and for me, that matched with you know, growing up and becoming a father, and changing my lifestyle personally. So, you know, coming from New York, New York is a city where you pretty much wake up in the morning, and no matter you could wear a tuxedo at 9 a.m. and working on Fifth Avenue and still feeling okay. You know, people don't care. That's what I miss about a city like New York. Instead, when you experience, and I'm glad that you experience California, because you can relate. When you live in a place like this, is very interesting. What happened to you is an incredible. This is a very eclectic. In a sense, reminds me. I always say that. In a sense, reminds me of Sicily, because it's very eclectic. It's very colorful. What you have around is so. The inputs I got per day are very interesting to me. Of course, I'm not gonna lie to you, Carlos. I miss living in cities like would it be Milan, or like would it be London, or New York, as I mentioned before, because there is something. Every time you are in a metropole, in a big city like that, I find that, you know, you step on a subway in London, in New York, you sit down and you see a diversity of profiles around you, different people with different jobs, and that's, to me, is fantastic. Every time I say to people, every time I sit on the subway in New York, I come back home with so many ideas. You know, LA is more, like you mentioned, in Mexico, is more a larger city. You step in your car, you drive places, and we tend to be isolated, to don't surround ourselves with too many people. When I first opened the store, which, by the way, was a consequence of my daughter being born. She wasn't born yet. She already kicked me out of the house. I opened the store a year ago. My office was in the house, and now it's the baby room. When I opened the store, the most exciting thing about that process was having a door, was having a place where people would walk in. And daily I meet a number of people, and all of them brings me a little bit of something that it's absolutely inspiring. You know, one day is a skateboarder, one day is an athlete, one day is a producer. There are a lot of people that work on the movie industry here in LA. And, you know, as a kid, they have this romantic idea that people that makes movie are people that makes dream, you know, are people that are used to that, and actors and yeah, it's very fascinating. I'm extremely happy to have a physical location, to have a store, and I believe that the future of the brand will be absolutely around that, around stores and around physical location. That would keep us inspired for sure.
And like I saw that in your mannequins again. I knew that you had something. Well, I'm not being condescending or anything, but I knew it because you understood that Americans, they're a little bit more informal. They're not that flashy. So like by including the Van shoes and the Marlboro cap, it's I don't know, like you're submerging yourself with Californianness, with maybe a little bit of a skater culture, with, you know, so it's really interesting. And I've always said that like Californian culture, it's like what we're going to wear in Mexico in 2-3 years, you know, it's like it trickles down.
It shifts down. Totally. And like I said, and it's part of what I said before. I think that if you think about it, I always like to approach the environment surrounding us, because to approach that environment in a very analytical way means that historically and culturally, people have been living in a city like Los Angeles, the people that were living in the city from after the wars were moving to Los Angeles to either be actors or to be artists or to be musicians or to be unconventional profiles.
Sure.
To pursue that lifestyle. And that's where you still have that sense here in LA. Sometimes I meet, you know, kids working on a restaurant, and you meet the most beautiful, like looking people working on a bar, because they might trying to be something else. They might trying to be actors. They might trying to be, you know, to work in the TV business and in the music business. And that's the beauty of a city like Los Angeles. I love Pasadena for different reasons. You know, whenever you drive around Pasadena, you have the sense of beauty, and it's very sophisticated. You can feel that in the past, this was a place like, I don't know, like Palm Beach or like Montecito or like Santa Barbara. Those talking about Americans, talking about, you know, the history of Americans man style. These are places where you can breathe that. Every time I feel like in a movie driving around the streets. That's the beauty of it. But Los Angeles definitely have that multicultural and it's a very, very interesting place to live. And I'm very happy to be here. I finally can call this place home. It took me a minute, but now I'm a happy man, and I think that people can feel that seeing what I create and seeing what I do. It's a priority for me, absolutely.
Oh yeah, it's the city of dreams, and I don't want to take any more of your time, Davide, because I know that you're a busy man with a family. Just any other tip or advice for someone who's watching us and wants to entrepreneur, to become an entrepreneur, either in the creative world, in the fashion advice?
I think, Carlos, and I'm so happy to meet you, and I'm happy that we had time to have a short conversation before this interview to know each other better. I think what's very important is you seems, for instance, you seems to me like you sounds like a curious man. You sounds like a curious, interested man. And I think that curiosity is something that makes us very rich, because whenever you're curious, you are open to new things, and behind curiosity there is always a strong sense of wanted to learn something. And the tip I gives is, of course, and you are so kind to ask me that, I feel that we are not even in the map yet. I feel we are a very small brand, but if I could give an advice to anybody wanted to pursue that path, is to be themselves and to stay curious and to stay willing to learn and to see new things and to express themselves in different ways. I think when you look at the industry today, and I would like it to mention it, people like Virgil, rest in peace, which was an incredible man. It was a visionary, and even at his level, even the level that he reached, he was still very approachable and very humble and very interested, and he will always express you his opinion, and he will always give you a different perspective about things. And if you face what today is the scenario, all the people that are that I admire and that are in brands that I respect and that inspires me are people that have that. People that are showing new things, new perspective. Are people that are showing culture. Are people that are showing things that anybody could relate to. And that's so important, Carlos, because at the end, no matter how aspirational what we do it is, and the message that we're trying to send it is, but what's very important is to have somebody on the other side, not only feeling those elements, but to be inspired and to be and to empathically involve them. And if you look at people like Tremaine Emory, which is the new creative director at Supreme, and if you're looking at people like we always mention it, Ralph, which is still keeping like himself so contemporary. We mentioned Brunello. We mentioned it. If you look at people like Alessandro Sartori from Zegna, you will find behind all those profiles a line of very, very genuine and interesting, flexible minds. And I think that that's the essence of creativity, and I think that that's the essence of this job. Sorry if I give these articulate answers, but it took me again. Every time I switch, it took me. Sometimes it took me a minute to elaborate things, but I think there are so many layers in the profession that. In the industry, in the fashion industry, there are so many nuances. But I think that the people that do it at their best are people that are very, very interesting, and they keep themselves creative. And like I mentioned before, Virgil, like I mentioned Tremaine, I mentioned Alessandro Michele with Gucci, or Jerry Lorenzo with Fear of God. These are all people that I believe brought something new because they show to the world how they saw things. And if you can do that, and if you pursue, and if you approach what you do that way, I think you will be successful. Or at least you will just be satisfied to express yourself. So be yourself and be interested and be flexible and be curious is probably the tips that I feel like giving to people.
I can't find a better way to end the conversation. Davide, thank you very much. Where do we find you?
So much.
Where do we find you in Instagram?
Yeah, we do have an Instagram account that like I mentioned before, I personally curate on the creative aspect. My wife helped me with marketing and communication. We are a small team. We have a website, of course, that allow us to that I like it. I'm not generation. I'm not son of that. I'm not too good on those platforms, but we have a website where we try to share with people how we do things and why we do things, and these are our platform. And thank you again for having me on this, Carlos. La próxima vez estaré feliz de hablar contigo solo en español. I will try to make my Spanish a little bit better. I don't like to offend nobody, but thank you again, Carlos, for having me, and thank you. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. La próxima volta io vorrei parlare italiano.
Vale. Está un escambio ragionevole. Vale.
Thank you very
absolutely.
much.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a great day, man.
Likewise.
Bye.